The Semipalatinsk nuclear test site has a rather gloomy and sinister history, which played an important role in the history of development of entire world community and the global anti-nuclear movement. Over the 40 years of operation, from 49 to 89 years of the 20th century, more than 456 nuclear tests were carried out there, from which more than 1.5 million people suffered. Hello everyone, and today with you is me, Samat Falihan. As you understood from the beginning of the video, our today's topic is Semipalatinsk nuclear test site. So, how did it all started? It all started with the end of the World War II. The end of World War II marked the beginning of the Cold War. At that time, the United States already had in its arsenal not only the atomic bomb, but also combat experience in Japan. To create the first Soviet nuclear project, it was decided to copy the American prototype. By the summer of 1949, the first Soviet nuclear missile was ready and received the designation RDS-1. To try out a new weapon, it was necessary to find a suitable area, and it became the staples of Kazakhstan. This place is located on the right bank of the Irtysh, only 130 km from the city of Semey. The Semipalatinsk nuclear test site occupied a vast area of 18,500 square kilometers and was divided into many sectors. In the end, on August 29, in 1949, in the very center of the site, at a height of 37 meters, church was blown up. The strength of the detonated bomb then amounted to 22 kilotons. The Semipalatinsk test site was the only test site near large settlements. In general, these tests never had cases of direct harm to the local population. But despite this, there were tragic cases as a result of the test, and one of them is testing of the RDS-37 thermonuclear charge on November 22 in 1955. As a result, a nuclear fungus was formed, which had a diameter of up to 30 kilometers and a height of 14 kilometers. The power of the bomb was over 1 megaton. If we talk about the consequences of the explosion, then firstly, within a radius of 200 kilometers from the epicenter of the explosion, all the windows in the houses were broken. As a result of the collapse of the ceiling in the residential building of the village of Malaya Akjare, a 3-year-old girl died. Also, at the time of the collapse of the dugout located 36 kilometers from the center of the explosion, 6 soldiers of the security battalion were covered with the ears, of which one died of suffocation. The rest received minor bruises. And more than 500 residents of nearby settlements received various injuries from glass fragments and building debris. In the city of Semey, 3 people received brain concussion as a result of an explosion. In total, various damage to buildings was noted in 59 settlements. In 1961, the first underground nuclear explosion in the USSR was carried out. The energy release of the explosion was 1 kiloton. According to website Adamdar, during the entire operation of the test site, about 600 nuclear and thermonuclear devices were detonated. On August 29, in 1991, Kazakh President Nursultan Nazarbayev signed a special decree aimed at closing the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site. And after 3 years, the entire nuclear arsenal of the Kazakhstan was removed from its territory. After another 2 years, all the military left there, leaving behind ugly scars on the ground in the form of funnels, edits, and thousands of kilometers of soil poisoned by radioactive particles. These nuclear tests have brought suffering to a sensitive region. A year after the first nuclear explosion was carried out, infant mortality increased by almost 5 times. In subsequent years, the development of congenital malformations in the area of the population only increased, and after 12 years reached a record 21.2% per 1,000 newborns. Congenital malformations are single or multiple defects of the morphogenesis of organs or body districts identifiable at birth or during the intrauterine life. It includes the absence of the limbs and the brain, anomalies of the heart, and open hernia of the spinal cord, maxillofacial deformities, and so on. On the screen, you can see children with congenital malformation. Also, nuclear explosions at the test site cause irreparable harm to health in patients with increased morbidity to the Semipalatinsk test site, malignant tumor, diseases of nervous system, radiation sickness, which is common among people in this area and caused the death of thousands of citizens, and in general high mortality. The average life expectancy in this population is 40-50 years, while in 1985 the average life expectancy in the USSR reached 72 years. Researchers note that weapons tested in Kazakhstan still acquire the genetics of the more than 500,000 people. This event had a huge impact both on the Kazakhs themselves and on the world community. In 1989, the well-known public figure of Kazakhstan, Olja Suleimanov, created the Nevada Semipalatinsk anti-nuclear movement, uniting the victims of nuclear tests around the world. In the same year, the movement prevented 11 explosions out of a planned 18 at the Semipalatinsk test site. Only 7 explosions were made. The last one took place on 19 October. And as I mentioned earlier, on August 29 in 1991, by decree of President of the Kazakh SSR, the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site was closed. After gaining independence, the question of transferring responsibility arose, and in 1993, Kazakhstan, from the first indices, joined the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. And in 1995, the last nuclear charge was adopted at the former Semipalatinsk test site. On 1st July in 2009, at the opening of the Third Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, Elbasi Nursultan Nazarbayev declared August 29 the Day of Nuclear Disarmament. Later, at the initiative of Kazakhstan, a draft resolution, International Day Against Nuclear Tests, was submitted to the UN General Assembly for consideration. The resolution was sponsored by 26 states. On 2nd December in 2009, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution declaring August 29 as an International Day Against Nuclear Tests. In accordance with annual action, reports are repeated about the terrible consequences of nuclear tests and about the approach of their occurrence in the future. International Day Against Nuclear Tests was first observed in 2010. Since then, every year this day has been celebrated all over the world with events, symposiums, conferences, exhibitions, information programs, and etc. In conclusion, the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site and the devastating consequences for the environment and human health of nuclear tests conducted there serve as a stark reminder of a potential danger associated with the use of nuclear weapons. This experience led to the strengthening of global peace and security through the creation of Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons and the announcement of August 29 as the International Day Against Nuclear Tests, which is to ensure a sustainable future for whole mankind.